Alright, Shalom, Brother Kashakwala coming back at you with another lesson, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Achakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone to rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Today, it's going to be Daniel chapter 7, verses 4 through 8. Again, this is going to be a quick overview and a synopsis of the chapter, or of these particular verses. You can catch these videos from the apostles who have done thorough studies and breakdowns. There's no other reason why we say double honors to the apostles and elders, because they have provided us with this information for us to research ourselves and to retain. So you can always go to and revert to their videos. But I'm making this video so this can be at least a stepping stone for individuals who may not know. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into it. It's not going to be much detail. Like I said, that's going to be for your diligence. But it's going to be a synopsis of the verses. So this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 3. It says, "And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another." Right, so it's saying 4 beasts. So just as a spoiler, these 4 beasts that's talking about are 4 different rulerships. Okay, and each rulership had a time to rule, because the Lord is a just power. Okay, he's gave every rulership that ever hit the face of this planet a time to rule. All right, and that's just because the last rulership will be with the Israelites, who will rule forever. That's why the scriptures say that in Isaiah 45 and 17. It says a world without end, but it's speaking about Israel. All right, so we're gonna get into the 4 rulerships, pretty much, of what it's speaking about in these verses. And Lord willing, y'all edified. This is verse 4. It says, "The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it." Now what verse 4 is speaking about is the Assyrian Empire. Okay, the Assyrian Empire. So Daniel chapter 7 verse 4 is the Assyrian Empire, and how Daniel describes these is in chronological order. When you go into the word chronological, it means to put in in order by time. All right, that's why you have a book called Chronicles, because it was a timely pattern of how things went. Also the Kings, when you read the book of Kings, it was the same way. All right, so rereading, it says Daniel 7 and 4, "The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it." All right, so again, that's the Assyrian Empire. And let's just get some insight on the Assyrian Empire. Salakia. Soft. One second here. All right, here's the Assyrian Empire during the time. All right, I really want to get a map of it. This is the Assyrian Empire at the time. The Assyrian Empire was heavily prophesied about. Some of the books that you can read prophesying against Syria was the book of Jonah. He was told to go down to Nineveh, which was a prominent city at the time. When you look it up during that time, that was like the New York City of the time. It was a big city comprised with a lot of people, and how it was set up was kind of set up how New York City is today. It was set up by like other cities combined into it, just like New York is. You got Brooklyn and Queens and then Manhattan. That's how Nineveh was set up in the whole. Another book you can read about during, Assyrian type rulership is the book of Tobit. All right, because ultimately, at the end of Tobit is when Tobias finally heard of the destruction of Nineveh and he rejoiced about it. So let's move forward. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much in detail, maybe just hit quick points about each empire, and you can do the studies on the empires yourselves. This is Daniel chapter 7 and 5. It says, "And behold, another beast," so this is the second beast, "a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh." Right. Again, the apostles and elders go through it deeply, well, very, very good, especially about the 3 ribs in the mouth between the teeth. I strongly recommend y'all watch the video. But verse 5 is speaking about the Persians and the Medes. Okay, the Persians and the Medes. Now, I do want to say this is going chronologically, but I will say the Assyrian Empire after them were the Babylonians, because when you go into 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter, one of my favorite chapters, matter of fact, because it has a boatload of history in there. The Assyrians linked up with the Egyptians to fight against the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, and the Chaldeans ultimately ended up making the Assyrian Empire extinct after that, pretty much. But after the Babylonians came the Persians and Medes around like 587 BC, when the Persians came and destroyed them. What was that? Who came? I want to say, matter of fact, just so I'm not, giving misleading information, we're going to go to Ezra 1:1 real quick. Cyrus, that's who it was. It just came to me. Call all Yahweh Bashim Yal Shai. This is Ezra chapter 1 verse 1. It says, "Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put also in writing, saying," well, I'm gonna just stop right there. But King Cyrus of Persia came and took over the what is it? The Babylonians. And it shows you that in 2 Chronicles 36 and 22. All right. Pretty much the change of power was right here. Because before verse 22 here is like the siege of Jerusalem. All right. So going back, verse 5 would be the Persians and the Medes. All right. So verse 4 was the Assyrian Empire. Verse 5 was the Persians and the Medes. All right, so let's go to verse 6. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another," so this is number 3, "like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." All right, and dominion was given to it. We have to go to the Apocrypha for this, because there's some information that does need to be addressed. All right, so I'm just gonna hold that on deck. So going back, verse 6, "After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." All right, so this would be the Greek Empire. Verse 6 would be the Greek Empire. All right. Now, there's one thing that we may have to slightly go into in this. Again, this is a lot of history packed into 4 verses. So this is a very diligent study of what needs to be accomplished after you get the foundations of what it's speaking about, which is what I'm bringing today. But do go into this because there's a lot of information that is packed into this one verse. It kind of reminds me, this is the reason why I brought up, First Maccabees 1 and 1, the first chapter, is because even so, as an example, First Maccabee 1 and 1 is heavily packed with a lot of information. Just to go through it, and I don't mean to be sidetracked, but it says Maccabee 1 and 1, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedum, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. Now, Philip is King Philip, all right? Primarily King Philip II, all right, who was Alexander's father. Now, Alexander took office in 336 BC at the tender age of 20, then ruled in Persia in 330 BC, all right? So when he started ruling in Persia, I think he was about like 26 years old, you could say. 25, 26 years old. All right. When he started ruling in Persia. And again, the reason why I'm reading about Alexander here, and write this down if you do have the chance, it's because it says like a leopard. The leopard is a representation of Alexander the Great, or the Greek. Let's say it like that. But a lot of people know him, just for edification purposes, as Alexander the Great. He did accomplish great things, okay? He took a lot of things out in a short span. And that's a lesson for another day. I may do like a quick overview of First Maccabees, the first few verses of chapter 1. And we had King Philip II. In verse 1 is a clear change of power, because this was the change of power from the Persians to the Greeks. And verse 1 is a clear example of the Second Persian War. Okay? The Second Persian War. Go look that up when you have the chance. All right? Now it says what? Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes. Now, what Darius was this? Now, of course, we do have indication, and if you don't know, I know from individuals who do know, a lot of kings who had names were just titles, like Artaxerxes or Xerxes or Ahasuerus or what? Darius, Pharaoh. These were titles, okay? These were actual titles that were given to these individuals. And in this case, this was Darius the Third. This was Darius the Third, who Alexander ended up taking out and then getting power. All right. And that's just as an example of how much information can be packed in one verse. All right. So going back to, and that's scratching the surface of what I was giving you. You could go way deeper just by the things that I just told you. All right. So again, after this, I beheld, and lo, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given into it. So this is the Greeks, and the leopard is Alexander, and now the wings represent the 4 generals that Alexander had after he pretty much passed the torch. Well, pretty much after he passed away, after he died. So let's skip down to let's see, verse 7. So Alexander, and this shows the validity of the scriptures and the validity of the Apocrypha, because it's actually mentioning real people. Everything we're reading right now is mentioning real individuals. I read 2 Chronicles 36 mentioning King Cyrus, mentioning Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians. We're reading about Alexander the Great right now. This is the validity of the scripts, okay? The scripts validate real life, okay? These things happen and were recorded, all right? The scripts are not fake. They're real. They have real history and things in certain events, all right? It even gives timelines for just going off, going astray from the topic, just to prove some more points. Read Luke, the 2nd chapter. It speaks about Augustus, which is Augustus Caesar, formerly known as Octavius, whose name was changed to Augustus. Octavius was a part of the Second Triumvirate. You see, these are real individuals, and he was during the time of Yahushua, during Yahushua's early ages. All right. So going back, it says, First Maccabees chapter 1 and 7. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. So he wreaked a lot of havoc. He took over a lot of stuff while he was in his rulership. It says verse 8, and it says, and his servants bear rule, everyone in his place. Right. So these are what we're getting into, the four wings. Okay. The 4 wings. All right. It says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Correct. So these would be his 4 generals. Okay. And his 4 generals were Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucid, and Antigonus. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to pull it up on the screen, and I'm just going to go ahead and type that in. Shoot. There we go. 4 generals of Alexander. There he goes right there. Cassander, Ptolemy, Antigonus, Seleucid. Those are the 4 empires. And the main ones that you read about in First Maccabees is the Ptolemaic and the Seleucid Empire. Because what do the scripts say here in Maccabees? That evils were multiplied in the earth, correct? Through the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire came 6 Syrian wars. 6 Syrian wars, man. And when you get down to like verses 17, around here, again, I'm going astray, but I'm going to get back on topic, I promise. Around here was the start of the Sixth Syrian War, which was around 170 to 168 BC. And that was around the time where the Maccabean revolt was starting to, take place and stir up, you could say. All right, so let's go back to Daniel. So again, Daniel chapter 7 verse 6, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and the dominion was given to it. This is the Greek Empire. The leopard is Alexander the Great, and the 4 wings are the 4 generals of Alexander, who are Ptolemy, Cassander, Seleucid, and Antigonus. All right, so let's move forward to verse 7. And as you can see, we're getting closer to the time period that we're living in. It says, after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right. So with that being said, this is the pagan Roman Empire / the NATO EU / well, you could say I'm just going to start with the pagan Roman Empire. Okay. Because after the Greeks, you had the Romans that came and started to rule. Okay. But you can't say / the NATO and the EU as well. All right. So let's move forward. Verse 8, it says, and I considered, and this is another point here, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. Right. So there's only one thing I want to focus on in here, and that is another little horn, and that would be a representation of America today. All right. So let's go back up This is verse 4 would be the Assyrian Empire. Verse 5 would be the Persians and Medes. Verse 6 would be the Greeks and Alexander. Verse 7 would be the Pagan Roman Empire, NATO EU, you could say. And verse 8 would be America there, okay? Especially because they are that little horn that branched out. You could say also they are that little horn that branched out of Great Britain, okay? There, and also it said another thing that gives it away is in a mouth speaking great things, right? Also, you can just kind of tie that in or apply it, you know, do some application base work here. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51 real quick. And again, I'm just applying this scripture just to bring home a better understanding. All right. Because America did speak great things. You can come over here and live the dream, right? All right. It says Jeremiah chapter 51 and 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her and take balm for her pain. If so, be she may be healed. You see? So pretty much what I want to bring out is that verse 7. That is that wine, which is what? The philosophies. And you can go into the philosophies being something that is spoken with great words. So it says in a mouth speaking great things. Right, these philosophies were spoken into the ears of the people, which ultimately got them drunken on that type of philosophy. All right, so nothing too deep, nothing too strenuous to the mind. I just wanted to just lay out a foundation to where you could start if you are reading Daniel chapter 7 and trying to comprehend Daniel 7, 1 through 8. This is a good starting platform. Again, you can always go and watch the Apostles and Elders of Great Millstone. Who rule, who act, they rule and teach well. I'll say they rule and teach well. All right. So with that being said, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Hakwadash. Double honors to the Apostles and Elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Until the next time, Shalom.